In the heart of the dense, mist-shrouded forest lay the village of Eldermoor, a place where time seemed to stand still. The villagers lived simple lives, their days marked by the rising and setting of the sun. But amidst the tranquility, there was one figure who stood out, a magician named Alaric. He was no ordinary magician. His powers were whispered to be as old as the forest itself. Alaric lived in a modest cottage at the edge of the village, surrounded by an aura of mystery and intrigue. Alaric was a man of few words, his piercing blue eyes seeming to hold secrets of the ages. The villagers respected him, but they also feared him. They spoke in hushed tones about the strange occurrences that seemed to follow him, shadows that moved on their own, whispers that carried on the wind, and lights that flickered without a source. Yet despite their fear, they often sought his help for ailments and misfortunes that no one else could cure. One crisp autumn evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a young girl named Lila ventured to Alaric's cottage. She was a curious and brave child, known for her adventurous spirit. Her younger brother Finn had fallen gravely ill, and the village healer had been unable to help. Desperate, Lila decided to seek the magician's aid. As she approached the cottage, the air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to stretch and twist around her. She knocked on the door, her heart pounding in her chest. The door creaked open, revealing Alaric, his tall figure silhouetted against the dim light inside. "Please," Lila pleaded, her voice trembling. "My brother is sick, and no one can help him. I beg you, save him." Alaric studied her for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then he stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter. The interior of the cottage was cluttered with ancient books, strange artifacts, and jars filled with peculiar substances. The air was thick with the scent of herbs and something else, something otherworldly. Alaric led Lila to a small table and motioned for her to sit. He then began to prepare a potion, his hands moving with practiced precision. As he worked, he spoke in a low, melodic voice, recounting tales of ancient magic and the balance between light and darkness. "Magic," he said, "is not just about power. It is about understanding the forces that bind the world together, and sometimes those forces demand a price." Lila listened intently, her fear giving way to fascination. When the potion was ready, Alaric handed her a small vial filled with a shimmering liquid. "Give this to your brother at midnight," he instructed, "but beware. The shadows will try to stop you. They do not take kindly to those who meddle with their domain." Lila nodded, clutching the vial tightly. She thanked Alaric and hurried back to the village, the weight of his words heavy on her mind. As the clock struck midnight, Lila prepared to administer the potion to Finn. The room was eerily silent, the only sound the soft ticking of the clock. Just as she was about to pour the liquid into Finn's mouth, the shadows in the room began to stir. They twisted and writhed, forming grotesque shapes that seemed to reach out for her. Lila's heart raced, but she remembered Alaric's warning. She focused on her task, pouring the potion into Finn's mouth despite the growing chaos around her. The shadows hissed and screeched, their forms becoming more menacing. But as the last drop of the potion touched Finn's lips, the shadows dissipated, leaving the room in silence. Finn's eyes fluttered open, and he smiled weakly at Lila. She hugged him tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. The potion had worked. The next morning, the villagers were astonished to see Finn up and about, his health restored. They praised Lila for her bravery, but she knew the true hero was Alaric. She returned to his cottage to thank him, but to her surprise, the cottage was empty. Alaric was gone, leaving behind only a note. "The balance has been restored," it read, "but remember the shadows are always watching." Lila never saw Alaric again, but his words stayed with her. She grew up to be a wise and respected woman in the village, always mindful of the delicate balance between light and darkness. And though the villagers eventually forgot about the mysterious magician, Lila knew that somewhere, in the depths of the forest, Alaric was still watching over them, his magic a silent guardian against the whispering shadows.